Welcome to West Coast Women Rising. I'm JJ Flizanes, one of your hosts, and I'm joined today by Tawney Noriega, who's also one of your hosts. Welcome, Tawney.
Hello.
So today is our welcome episode. We want to show you and tell you what this podcast is all about. West Coast Women Rising is a podcast celebrating women who are making waves on the coast and beyond through purpose-driven entrepreneurship and powerful personal growth. Hosted by myself, JJ Flizanes, and Tawney Noriega, and members of the Ventura County Business Women community. Each episode features inspiring stories from bold, heart-centered leaders and entrepreneurs who are building businesses that make a difference. So that's just a little bit about what our goal is here. I wanted to make sure that anyone that's searching this out and you're attracted to it, that you can understand sort of what we're doing here. So let's just introduce ourselves very quickly. This is the welcome episode. On episode 2 and 3, you're going to hear a little bit more about Tawney and a lot more about me. But right now, Tawney, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the vision of Ventura County Business Women and why we did this podcast?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Tawney Noriega. I'm the founder of Ventura County Business Women. We created this back in 2018 because really I had launched a marketing company and I needed a space where I could be an expert in my industry, but also a human. And so now unfolding, we've got over 6,300 local business women, supporting them with connection, empowerment, expansion. And what really makes us different is that we're factoring in what it takes to grow your business logistically, while also having the nurturing conversations that are tending to the personal side of things growing a business. So this podcast was just a natural unfoldment where we can showcase and share the stories of the women in our community, how they're showing up, serving, making an impact, and just facilitating a space where women can show how they're experts in their fields, but they're also humans, and that's amazing.
We met through Ventura County Business Women. I moved from Los Angeles to Ojai about 4 years ago and saw Tawney having this community, and I was starving for other women who were building businesses or just sharing their zone of genius and their dharmas in the world. So this podcast is really meant for definitely people building businesses, but if you're just looking for inspiration about things that people can do, living out their purpose, living their dharma and zone of genius, shining in the world, and using, especially the magic of this podcast is not just about business tools. There are plenty of business podcasts out there, how to grow a community, how to make money. We're going to do that, but we're going to do this with a little more depth and a lot more spirituality, with looking at what really works and how do we grow ourselves in order to grow our business. That's sort of the jam of this podcast. And being that podcasting is sort of my zone of genius, I have a network called the Empowering Minds Network. My flagship show is called Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I've been doing this for over 10 years. My podcasts are in the top 0.5% of all podcasts in the world. And I love podcasting. I think that this medium is so effective for translating and transmuting energy. When we read stories, we don't get the same energy as we do when we're listening to a podcast or watching a video, because we can actually ooze our own energy through this microphone into your ear, where you directly get inspired. It doesn't even matter what we're saying. Some people are just going to light you up and inspire you and motivate you. It doesn't even matter what they're talking about, because you're going to be able to feel it. And for us, feeling is a real important part of the businesses that we're creating. So there are 4 different kinds of segments that we're going to start out with on this podcast. Tawney, why don't you start with number 1 and tell people sort of what to expect in terms of one of these strategies we're going to use for the episodes.
Yeah, beautiful. This is so cool inside of, taking this to the podcast, because, like you're saying, when we get to share our voice, when we get to talk, you can feel it. It's different. You get to connect with people in a different way than reading their stories, which we have done through the Elevate series with Ventura County Business Women. So for the podcast, we have these 4 different sections. Section 1 being the tool talk, what's working in your business. And this is like really focusing on strategies, systems, smart tools. So we can have people come on, share about like the expertise and what they're doing so that our listeners have logistical steps. There's tactical strategy, it's mindful, it's intentional, but then you can implement it right away.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people are sharing what's working for them. It doesn't work for everyone. Some tools work for some people, some tools don't work for others. And being able to hear the stories about these different entrepreneurs and these women who are making a difference in people's lives and running their business and starting their business and sharing their gifts and talents into the world, like what's working for them. You may resonate with some and you may not resonate with others, but we're going to share tips and tools. So it's a podcast you're going to want to subscribe to so that you can get this information if you're out there building a business, and especially if you're a woman entrepreneur who's feeling isolated and alone because you're doing it by yourself. That's one of the reasons why I'm sure Tawney started VCBW. It's one of the reasons why I joined VCBW, is because we're kind of in our caves. We're in our offices, we're building our businesses, and we don't have as much community and connection. We don't have those water cooler conversations at the office. We have to make them. So this is our water cooler conversation at the office that we're going to share with you. So also the next segment we're going to work on is the story behind the business. So all of the overcoming, the origin stories, the personal growth. What did it take you to get there? What did you have to overcome to get where you are? Whether it be leaving corporate because you were burned out, or healing from grief or loss, or navigating motherhood and purpose. We're going to make sure that you are inspired by the story behind the business, because that might be something that might be where you are right now. And maybe you need a little support, a little bit of inspiration that someone else can do it, and so can you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's what's really cool is that us having those conversations on this podcast. Because again, there's so many business podcasts, but we're factoring in not only the logistics, but the internal stuff, right? Dealing with burnout, like that is such a common thing in business, but that also affects us in our personal life. So all these different topics, they cross and correlate with each other, the personal life and the business side of things.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
want to take number 3?
yeah, so we go into our third section or segment. This is lessons that leveled me up. And I'm really excited about this one because, I think that our breakdowns lead us to our breakthroughs. And I think that when we allow ourselves, time to know ourselves, emotional intelligence, learning what we desire, what we don't desire, when we know that personally, then how we show up in our business is completely a different game, because now you're learning how to take actions that are in alignment, that you're in your power, your truth, they're helping you quantum leap, because you're not in that survival mode, is my languaging of it. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to hear women, how we all have stories of struggle or trauma or pain. And I love hearing stories how women somehow, some way go inward, have an empowering relationship with themselves and what they create after that. I think it's so inspiring.
Absolutely. And I think we all have them. I think we have, in my speak, I teach law of attraction, and the contrast helps us to clarify and redefine and focus us. A lot of times we need that contrast to focus us. And so those lessons that leveled us up are things we didn't see coming and didn't really want, and we didn't like, and we didn't feel comfortable with them. But man, were they necessary in order for us to grow. And, the last segment that we're going to be talking about is collaboration and action. And I'm really excited about this because in one of my groups right now, I have a client, and she's been with me now over a year. She's done like 4 different programs. And when she first started last year, she had to admit that she was never around women that supported each other. She said, I grew up knowing that women attack each other and pull each other down. And so I've never had women friends because I'm afraid, because I don't open up. I don't want to be vulnerable with women. And so the collaboration and action really, when we understand that there's enough for everyone, there's enough to go around, and we don't have to be in competition. The collaboration is the new gold. The collaboration is the new way to make a splash. I mean, I'm doing something recently where I'm collaborating with other women, and it's really just making a huge difference in the amount of people that I have signing up for my programs, because we understand that we all can affect change, and there are enough people that are going to be attracted to me and you and everybody else, and we don't have to compete. So collaboration is something we want to definitely recommend people consider, because you can make, the power of women together and then collaborating has a bigger impact and a bigger reach and a more solid foundation for showing and changing this conversation and what people expect from society and from women. So I can't wait to hear about and to start even on this podcast creating collaborations amongst guests, people that are collaborating with us. Tawny and I are collaborating. This podcast is a collaboration. I didn't need another podcast. Like really was like and she doesn't need another project. But it just sort of spoke to us because as she was talking about the Elevate series and all these amazing stories of the people who are in this community, I thought I'm never going to read that. I'm just not, but I'll listen to it because I actually want to hear it from them versus me read a story. I want less time looking at my computer. I want more time with the intimacy. And for those of you that have been listening to podcasts for a while, you know the power of it because we're literally in your ear. And if you don't like us, you're moving on. And if you connect with us, you're digging in. And we can affect change just by our voices and our frequencies. And so I cannot wait for this collaboration to continue to unfold and allow opportunity for everyone to be seen, heard, fully booked, and to prosper and give your gifts and talents out into the world. So this podcast is going to be weekly. If you've logged on now, if you've subscribed, if you've found this podcast, there are at least 5 or 10 episodes you can sort of sink your teeth into to get started. But it is going to be a regular weekly podcast. And it's going to rotate in terms of who's going to be hosting it. Sometimes it'll be Tawny and I, sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be her. Maybe there'll be a guest person that we decide we have on as we're interviewing people who are naturally good representatives of the work we're doing and the energy we're trying to put out into the world. Who is this podcast for? Tawny, who would you say this podcast is for?
I definitely think, women that are in the conversation of building really strong relationships with themselves. I think that when you start hearing people coming on, what me and JJ are sharing, we're focusing on empowering human beings so that whatever that internal dialogue is going, like, you're going to hear things and be inspired. You're going to check your files of what's slowing you down, keeping you stuck, stagnant. So women that want that conversation with the intention so that when they show up for business, they show up in community or different collaborations. There's this full spectrum that's kind of being taken care of. So if you're a woman, we love local women in Ventura County and surrounding areas. But I also see this being something that attracts a much larger crowd. And so, yeah, just women that they want connection, they want empowerment, they want expansion in all areas. They're really willing to do the internal work so that when they come to show up in their relationships, money, body, career, all the areas that are important, it's full of possibility, alignment, excitement, fulfillment. That's really who I want to attract for this audience.
I love those words: alignment, collaboration, attraction, possibility is probably, if you can see, if you're watching the video on the back of my wall here, it's like my new favorite thing I stand for is possibility and opportunity. And just to sort of break that down into, you can check off the box. So we're looking at women who are starting or scaling a business, women who want to do meaningful work without burnout. Do you have to make money at it? You don't, but you understand that you're here to create. You're a creator. We're all creators. And so if you're not creating something of meaning in your life because you're too busy working a job for somebody else that you hate, this could help you get into inspiration mode of what could I create to have an outlet so I can be on purpose, so I can channel my energy that I'm here on the planet to give in a way that is satisfying for me, whether you make money at it or not. So whether you're a creative, a coach, a leader, a healer, and then, anyone who's craving community, mentorship, inspiration, ideas, tactical and tangible things you can do in your business tomorrow. And then just sort of, because, there's so many business plans, there's so many opportunities, even just like here with a podcast, there are 25 to 30 ways you can make money on a podcast, and not all of it's going to be the right fit for everybody. So that hearing the options and the opportunities and the differences in the stories will hopefully inspire you to take some action in your life and deliver your gifts and talents and why you're here as a powerful woman who's looking to be empowered and inspire others. And yeah, anything else you want to say about just in general about the podcast, Tawny?
I want to just highlight, I think who we are as hosts in how we also show up in community and leadership. Everybody has their own way of doing things, right? So I also feel like this is not a space where we're trying to sell, here's the way to do it. We're just trying to have the most authentic, open, transparent conversations, creating a safe space so people can really share what they have navigated. In that way, no matter what's coming through on the podcast, there's always a piece of magic depending on who's listening, because everybody has their own unique journey, but we can all kind of serve as mirrors for each other. So it's kind of like, you might get something different every time from a podcast, and it's not because you're going to follow somebody else's way, but it's because they shared something or said something that inspired something that's already inside of you.
Yeah. And I think I would like to add from my over a decade in podcasting and kind of what lights me up. And so I'd like to do that with this podcast also, is that while each guest and each conversation we have might be a new, whether it's one of the different segments that we're focusing on in terms of content, if it's collaboration or if it's tools or if it's the story behind, there, it can be its own show. Like each episode will be different because it'll be a different guest or a different topic. However, what's really important to me is that if you're on this journey with us, is that as we're growing, you're growing. And so to continue a through line throughout the conversation of this podcast, to continue to grow and expand together in community is also what's really important to me. So while you may not love every single episode or every single guest, I promise you that there will be a through line that we refer back to and content that we create out of this podcast that will help you continue to grow in whatever way. Like Tawney said, it's not all going to be everybody in the same way, but we want to have conversations around how you're growing and what inspired you. And if it resonates with you, it might resonate with somebody else. So know that we're in this for the long haul, and I can't wait to grow with you. I hope you'll subscribe to this podcast so that way you get every week you get the new shows. And over the course of these episodes, we're going to invite you into different circles, whether it be on Facebook or into VCBW, or whether it's in person, or whether it's to a live event, or whether it's to some kind of I run a 14-day manifestation challenge, whatever. And other guests are going to have their offers. We're going to invite you into community. And we hope you'll take us up on that, because we want to meet you. We want to know you. We want to grow with you. We want to provide a space that's so powerful that it trickles into the world, and that we can know that we're making a difference just by showing up and having these conversations. So please subscribe, and we can't wait to meet you.